I can't hear you. What's the word? Purpose. Thank you. Single-mindedness of purpose. And so I made the choice that I was going to follow one path, do this one thing, and I knew that if I did that, I would create momentum in that direction, and as a result of that momentum, I would orchestrate tipping points. Say tipping points.
Tipping points.
I would orchestrate tipping points in my life. And a tipping point is where the floodgates fly wide open and you're rewarded tremendously. How many people want to be rewarded tremendously for their speaking? Say aye. All right. So I wanted to be rewarded tremendously, but I also wanted to make this difference in the world. And so I think that we're all in this room because we're kindred spirits in that sense. Because I don't think that people that get into this field really get into it because they just want to make all the money. I'm sure that you want to make money doing it, and you should, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But I think that people that come into a room like this come in because at some level, we all want to make a difference on the planet. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. So I decided that I was going to cling to this one thing and do it. And a tipping point, who's read The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell? Okay, a tipping point, I'll just give you an example. A tipping point is where you've been doing something long enough where the floodgates fly wide open and you're rewarded tremendously overnight. And one of the examples that Malcolm Gladwell uses in this book is the example of fax machines. He said when fax machines first came out, there weren't enough businesses that had fax machines that even really made it worthwhile to have. But then after a while, enough businesses got fax machines where you had to have a fax machine in order to even operate. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Yes. All right. So then at that point, there was a tipping point that was orchestrated, and sales didn't just double overnight, they multiplied infinitely overnight. And what it takes to create tremendous success in anything is the love, the passion, the desire, the continued focus, the momentum that you create where you have the opportunity to create these tipping points in life. And so I made a choice when I was reading Napoleon Hill's book, this is about 13, 14 years ago, that I was going to orchestrate tipping points in my own life because there were so many things that I had stopped and started along the way. How many people have ever had something that they thought they might want to do and they stopped and started, then got into something else, then did something else? Who's ever done anything like that? All right? Well, I did that often in my life. You know, I worked for Club Med, I became a sports director, I was just one step below becoming manager of my own resort, and then I stopped. I was in martial arts most of my life, got my black belt, then I stopped. I ended up going back later. But there are a lot of things that I stopped and started in my life, and I thought, wait a second, if I do this one thing, and I make this one commitment, then, and that commitment is to a single-mindedness of purpose, to do this one thing well, and to be the best. Say, be the best.
Be the best.
Go like this, say, I want to be the best.
Be the best.
Shake somebody next to you, say, I see you want to be the best.
I see you want to be the best.
Because if you make the commitment to be the best, I guarantee you that there will be a place in the marketplace for you. Does that make sense? Yes or no?
Yes.
I had the good fortune to spend, it was 2 Christmases ago, I went to Richard Branson's island, to Necker Island, and got to spend 3 or 4 days with him out there, raced sailboats around the island, and did a lot of fun stuff like that. And I asked him, because this island, you know, he bought this for about $300,000 US, which is less than what most people would pay for a house these days. But we bought it for about $300,000 US. He rents it out today for $46,000 a day. A day! And I asked him, I said, do you have any problem renting this island out? He said, no, Chris. He said, when you build something that's the best, that's the what? That's the best in the world, there's always a market for it, including yourself. So if you were committed to being incredible from a platform, if you were committed to building an incredible business from a speaking perspective, to making a lot of money doing it and making a huge impact in the world, then the only real commitment that you need to make is the commitment to be the what?
Best.
Go like this, say, I'm going to be the best.
I'm going to be the best.
That's the only commitment you have to make. And so there I was, and I decided that I was going to single-mindedness of purpose. There was no way that I was going to start and stop. I was going to grab this, I was going to run with it, I was going to keep going until I became the best. And that just comes down to a decision. People go, oh, I'm afraid of failure, afraid I can't make it. Forget about it. Throw those thoughts away. Because the only thing that you have to do is make that commitment. I mean, if you took piano lessons for 20 years, would you get pretty good, yes or no? Yeah, you better believe it. And so I made the commitment to be the best I could possibly be. And I plugged myself into every course that I found. And I went out there and I sought them out, and I did whatever I needed to do, and I just kept plugging myself in, and quite frankly, I'll be doing it for the rest of my life. Right, plugging myself in with that commitment to be the best. And I'll tell you, I worked for 4 or 5 different personal training development companies at different times, at different stages in the game. So I love the quote from Jim Rohn. He says, never work for what you make, work for who you become. Because I'll tell you something, it was the best investment that I ever made in myself. You know, I worked for Dale Carnegie Training. How many people know Dale Carnegie? That incredible company, good leadership, good people. I worked for them for a whole year and made $12,000 all year. But I'll tell you what, it was the best investment in myself that I ever made. And it was an investment of time. Do you think it was a good investment, yes or no? Yes. Yes, because I learned skills. I learned skill sets that would allow me to go out and make my life everything that I wanted it to be. So, you know, at one time, I remember when I first set the goal, that I was going to become a speaker, I was living in El Porto, California. You guys know where this is? El Porto is right down the street. Right? I was living in a converted garage. I remember, you know, they had love beads hanging over a hole in the wall, and that was my closet. My dad's 6'4", so he'd have to duck to walk in the front door, and the floors were kind of slanted and stuff. And I remember, you know, I was just looking in storage the other day because I got to find these goals again. But I had all these goals. I was going to be speaking around the country. That was my big goal back then, right? Around the country. I couldn't think big enough. So I was going to be speaking around the country. I'd make $1 million in a year. You know, and I had all these goals that I didn't hit. That didn't even come close to back then. But then later shattered. Right? Shattered those goals. And when you look at that decision point in my life, and we all have decision points in our lives, and our decision points change our lives. Right? How many people are making a decision here this weekend, or have already made a decision that this is the path that you're going to follow? Say aye. Aye. All right. Shake somebody next to you and say, yes, you're committed.
Yes.
Shake somebody else. Say, I see you're committed.
I see you're committed.
All right. So here's the thing. We make the decision, we make the commitment, but there's no turning back. I remember I ran my first seminar. I had 7 people in it. Friends and family.
Woo.
Right? All friends and family. I ran my second seminar in a coffee shop in Manhattan Beach. Nobody showed up. Nobody, not a single person. Then one kid showed up. I don't know if you guys remember that movie Toy Story? You see that with the little kid that ripped the heads off dolls? His name's Eric Von Detten. He's a dear friend of mine, a little Disney actor. He's the only kid that showed up. He was 14 years old. He was a friend of mine at the time. He came in and he's like, dude, where are all the people? Right? So somebody comes to me and says, well, you gave that business a shot. What are you going to do now? That was my dad. What do you think I thought? Yeah, you gave that business a shot. What are you going to do now? What was in my head? Forget about it. No, it's like, I was so committed because I had already made the commitment. I said there was no turning back. I made that decision. And I made the decision to be the best that I could possibly be. So I plugged myself into those environments, and I took the mindset on of being an investor. And there's only so many things we can do with we can invest our money, but we can also invest our time. Right? There's so many things we can do with our time. We can waste our time sitting around playing Nintendo, not doing much. We can sell it, and whether we sell it for $5 an hour or $5,000 an hour, we're still selling our time. $10,000 an hour, we're still selling our time. Or we can invest. Say invest.
Invest.
We can invest our time. And so I chose to plug myself into, and I don't know if it was intelligence or divine design, or both, right? But I chose to plug myself into environments where every moment of every day became an investment in this greater vision, in this greater picture. But it started with that decision to be the best. And so I think that there's one decision that everybody in this room could make today that would make the biggest impact in terms of your living every dream that you've ever had, is to be the best. To do whatever it takes, to plug yourself into every course that they have. You know, I'm talking in the back to Joe Williams, who I think is an amazing speaker, and I'm saying, hey, let me put some of my guys in your stuff, and let you come over to me and come and take in some of our stuff. Why? Because he's committed. I'm committed to being the best. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes or no? Yeah. Slap somebody a high five, so that makes sense. Yeah. So having said that, here's what happened for me. I mean, since then, you know, that was 14 years ago when I was $70,000 in debt, and I was eating every third day, and you know, I lived in a house in Hermosa Beach, California. I remember they were tearing down while I lived there. I mean, I went through a couple of hard phases, but I just kept plugging myself into the learning, and I figured that eventually things would change for me, and they did. You know, today we're the biggest presence from a personal development standpoint in Australia. We have hundreds of thousands of people that we speak to every year, but we're number 1 in Australia. In the UK marketplace, we're probably number 2. We're moving into Asia next year. We're the biggest promoters in Asia. So we've got expansion that's happening like you wouldn't believe. We're one of the fastest growing personal development companies on the planet. You know, I went from being $70,000 in debt to making $70,000 a month, and then $70,000 a day, and then $1 million a day. Not every day, but often enough to make it noteworthy. Right? How many people would like to have results like that in their speaking business? Yes. All right, good. All right. So shake somebody next to you and say, we're in the right place.
Right place.
Here's the deal. I'm gonna let you peek beneath the curtain. I'm gonna put a business frame around this because I think you should do what you love. I think you should make a difference on the planet, and I think you should make a lot of money. Is that okay with you? Say yes. Yes. All right. So I'm gonna put a business frame around this in a second, but we need to get you warmed up. One of the things that we do in our presentation and platform skills training is we like to warm people up so that their presentations come to life. How many people want to be, once again, electrifying on the platform? Say aye. Shake somebody next to you. Say, that's for me.
That's for me.
If you're committed to being electrifying on the platform, please stand. We're going to get some movement happening here. Find a partner. You got 10 seconds. Ready to go. 10. Somebody you do not know. Somebody you do not know. You cannot know this partner. 10. 9. 8. You cannot know this partner. 7. 6. 5. If you don't yet have a partner, raise your hand high. If you don't yet have a partner, raise your hand high.
We got it.
Bring the music down a little bit. People with your hands in the air. Look around you. Find the other people with their hands in the air. People with your hands in the air. Look around you. Find the other people with their hands in the air. All right. Get everybody's attention. Give you a little bit more fold back on the mic if you can. So, who does not have a partner? Anybody not have a partner? All right, are you guys ready for this? Say yes. Yes. I say, are you ready? Say, bring it on. Are you ready? Bring it on. Now, here's the thing. If you want to be the best, I had a martial arts instructor when I was young who said, if you want to have precision and you want to be the best, you got to work a little harder than all the rest. And I've taken that attitude into my pursuit. People go, oh, I don't want to have to work hard. That's a limiting belief that you got to work hard. Come on, I work my tail off. You know, these guys that are up here on stage work their tail off, but you've heard the metaphor before that it's like, you know, we love what we do so much and we've never worked a day in our life. Does that make sense? Yes. Say yes. Yes. So we have to approach this with a playful attitude. With what type of attitude? A playful attitude. We got to have a lot of fun, but we also have to be committed and play it 100%. Who's willing to do that for the next hour and a half? Say aye. Okay, so we're going to play it 100%. We're going to do a warm-up exercise right now because I'll tell you what. I can stand on this platform. I can speak at you all night long. But that's not going to transform your presentations one iota. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Yeah, you got to get in your neurology. Right? There's two pillars to the comprehension of anything. There's the pillar of intellect. We can intellectualize things till the end of our days, but until we got into our neurology, we don't really own it. Right? So there's a pillar of intellect and the pillar of experience. And so we need to experientially get this in us if we really want to be great. Who wants to be great? Raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Okay, shake your partner and say, I see you want to be great. I see you want to be great. Say, I want to be great. So the play full out.
Play full out.
Okay, the first warm-up exercise we're going to do here comes from stand-up comedy. Alright, because we want to bring our presentations to life. Did you guys see Andy Andrews? Wasn't he fantastic? Yeah. Fantastic, man. I'll tell you something. This guy's funny as heck, and he stands on the stage and he captivates you. So how many people want to captivate their audiences? Both hands in the air. Alright, here's the first warm-up. Okay, it's a stand-up comedy warm-up, but here's what it is. In a moment, I want you to be thinking right now, because you can play in a moment, but be thinking right now of something you absolutely hate. Something you hate. And I'll tell you what it is for me. For me, I hate onions. I'm serious. I totally hate onions. Like, I hate them with a passion. If they serve me a meal and there's onions hidden somewhere inside that meal, it pisses me off, and I'll send it back and I won't eat it. Right? In fact, I think there's a conspiracy. Now here's what we're going to do. In a moment, you're going to think of something you hate. And how many people have ever seen Dennis Miller go on a rant on TV? Right? He goes on a rant. Now I don't want to get off on a rant, he says, and he blah, 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 but the onions are everywhere. And they're putting onions, you can't go into a restaurant without finding onions. You can't go any place without finding onions. Right? So in a moment, you're going to go on a rant, and your partner's going to listen. You're going to go on a rant about something you hate. But what this drill is it's an emotional flexibility. Say flexibility. It's an emotional flexibility drill. Right? So while you're going on your rant about that which you hate, I'm going to throw out emotional states, and you're going to have to change the state. You're going to continue the rant, but change the state. So if I tell you suspicion, you say, yeah, they put the onions everywhere, and I don't know. You know? If I tell you love, then you change to love. And those onions, right? It's an emotional flexibility drill. We gotta have fun. You gotta have what, please? If you want to play full out, say aye. Okay, so I'm gonna throw state after state after state. Every time you hear a state change, you change the emotional state with which you continue your rant. And we're gonna do about 3-4 minutes per person. So prepare yourself. Probably about 3 minutes per person. Okay, hold on. One of the two of you, please raise your hand high in the air. One of the two of you, raise your hand high. Point to your partner, so you go first. You go first. All right. about the thing you hate. Think about the thing you hate. Your partner's just going to listen to you. All right? You're going to go on a rant about the thing you hate. You got 3 minutes. I want you to just start normal. I will throw an emotion out at some point in a few seconds. And then you're going to switch to that emotion, but continue the rant for the entire time. Everybody got it?
Got it.
All right, when I say are you ready, say bring it on. Are you ready? Ready, begin.
I can't stand sleep when I have to pick up my dog's poop in a bag. I go walk, and then I go walk with her. I love my dog, but I can't stand her. She's a total bitch. She just goes down, she poops, I gotta pick it up. It's mushy, it's mushy, it's bad, it smells. It's the worst thing in the world. And I have to go down, and I have to pick it up in the bag. Then I have to take that bag, I gotta pull it out. And I gotta look at this. Oh, listen to it. I gotta go like this. And I'm pissed off. She just got away with it. And she poops big. She's totally ridiculous. And she poops out of this big and crazy. And it's big and dripping. And I gotta put the bag inside out. I think she knows when I'm looking at her. She's totally pooping. She knows when I'm looking. She doesn't want to know that I'm looking, so she goes and she hides. She hides when she's pooping. She goes behind a tree, and she just actually checks it out and makes sure that I'm not looking when she poops. And you know what? It doesn't matter, you know, because it pisses me off.
Ecstasy! Ecstasy!
Let me tell you something. If I was a male dog, listen, if I was a male dog, I would totally tap her. Coco is the best looking dog in the whole damn world. She is so good looking. She swats the shit. I almost feel like she is.
Horny! Horny!
What?
Horny!
You know what it is. Would you fuck first? Make this metaphor. You know what? I would. Wouldn't you? Sorry.
Rage! Rage!
Especially when she walks off and she doesn't listen to me. I totally want to just kick her ass. I love her, but I just want to kill her. I just want to beat the shit out of her.
Shyness! Shyness!
You can do that well. That'll come natural for you.
This shit.
Shyness, you know.
Passion!
I love
Passion!
We need to dig it up. I want to pick up more.
And stop right there. Give your partner a high five. See you rock. All right, hey, I gotta go. Pause right there. Pause right there.
You gotta take it up now. Oh man.
Now, I know this is the first time you did this exercise. Some people go, what the heck? Didn't know what I was getting into. Here's the thing. Doesn't matter how many people feel like they played it 100% when they did that exercise.
I totally did.
Right? How many people feel like they could have stepped it up a notch? Raise your hand to be honest. All right. Here's the thing. When you're on stage, do you have to play it 100%? Yes or no? Yes. Here, I'll tell you something. You know, I study martial arts to this day.
I came up with some heavy shit.
Gracies, if some of you know the Gracies. I just train with them constantly. Do Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And one of the things that the Torian Gracie, which is a dear friend of mine, there's Torian. Yeah, put him up on the screen. I see you guys don't. That's all right. He's a nice guy. What a great photo. Okay, there he is. But Torian Gracie, who's a dear friend of mine, he said this. He said, champions are not made in the awarding of the belt or the awarding of the trophy or the awarding of the medal. Champions are not made in tournaments. Champions are made in training. Where are champions made? In training. And you've got to believe that how you show up in training is how you show up here. right? So if you guys have a goal and you want to be spectacular, then can I be a good coach to you? Yes or no? Yes or no? Then you've got to show up in training. You've got to play at 100%. Play like you mean it.
Tracy.
You know, you see there's so many frustrated actors and artists and musicians in California. I mean, we're living in the capital of the world, right? Speakers are a dime a dozen, just like actors are a dime a dozen. What makes somebody spectacular is they have that commitment to playing, to being the best, but what makes them really spectacular is they show up in training like they want to show up and win. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Yeah. You better believe it. You know, my vocal teacher, a man by the name of Roger Love, some of you may know Roger's really spectacular, and he was talking about John Mayer. And he said, you know, John sits in his house and he plays all the time, and people say, you know, he's just practicing. He's training. He says, people come to him and say, oh boy, you're so good, you must have this talent. And he says, they don't see I work my tail off. Does that make sense? Yeah. You have to work your tail off, and you have to show up like you really want to play. So how many people think they can play it up and kick it up even 10 more notches? Say aye. All right, here we go. Reverse roles on the partner. You're going to start your rant in a second. I want you to play it 100%. Ready, begin.
The garbage out every Friday. Garbage. I've been taking the garbage out.
Self-pity.
15 minutes I take the garbage out. And every week, he tells me, hey, don't take the garbage out. You know, I never take the garbage out. You know what I mean? Never. Every week. You know, it's not like I make plans at the same time. It's
Ambition.
You know, one day though, I was tired. I could actually get the garbage out before 12. You know? I know that I can do it. You know, I'll take it out, and I'll come back in, and she'll tell me. Fear. I swear though. Please, that's the thought of pretending. You know, it's like you gotta take the garbage out, or if I hear the truck, I'm gonna go back to the house. Especially after she's told me before.
Playfulness.
So, she'll tell me, you know, and I'll say, I've never heard this before.
Attraction.
I tell you, I really want to take it out because, you know, I don't know, really, I'm advocating for more than that, having her actually ask me to take it out, right? I really would like to see
Power. But
when I take it out, I feel powerful. Maybe I'll run out of my boxer shorts or my garage shorts and get the hands out.
Here's the deal. That's just a warm-up. We're just having fun. We're warming up. And you guys having fun? Are we warmed up?
Yeah.
All right, here's the thing. I'm going to put a business frame on this real quickly because how many people would love to make a difference and make a lot of money doing it? So let's put a business frame around this. And I told you, I'm just going to be real straightforward with what I'm doing here, and that is that I'm going to talk to you about things that come directly from our presentation and platform skills, but let you peek beneath the curtain and see what we do and just break it all down and show it all to you. Is that cool? Yeah. Yes or no?
Yes.
All right. So here's my question to you from a business perspective. How many people have ever been to like a share trading or real estate seminar or something like that of 5 days or more? 5 days or more, by show of hands. Okay, I want to know, what did you pay? What did you pay for yours? 10 grand. 10,000. 5,000. 5,000. Well, how much? 6,000. Okay, what's the lowest price we've heard here so far? $5,000 is the lowest price we've heard. Let's call it 4. How many people have some idea of what they want to teach or train or present already? Raise your hand if you do. Okay? Sure. How many people have no idea of what they want to teach or present or train? Okay, here's the thing. We teach you. We actually give you content in our presentation and platform skills that you can teach or train or use to put together like building blocks for any type of presentation that you want to do. However, if you already have the idea of what you want to present, fantastic. If you were to charge $4,000 for a 1-week program. I mean, here you guys are doing a 3-day program, but if you were to do a 1-week program and charge $4,000, which is less than we heard anybody say, how many people would you have to have in trainings or seminars to make $100,000 your first year? 25. How many people is that a month?
2.
2 and a bit. It's going to be finding that bit of a person that's going to be a challenge for you. Seriously. So here's the deal. The question to you is this. How many people think it'd be pretty good to make $100,000 their first year doing what they love? Pretty good. Yeah, not bad. All right? Where are my presenters, by the way? It's supposed to be right here. Where are my presenters?
Right here.
So, $100,000 your first year, you'd have to find 2 and a bit of a person. The reason why I'm putting this business frame up front, we're going to do some more exercises and have some fun, but I'm putting this business frame up front because you have to have the business side handled. Because there's so many people that get into this field wanting to make a difference. I mean, that's why we get into it. How many people want to make a difference? By show of hands, right? So we want to make a difference, we want to share something with the world, and we want to make an impact. But I'll tell you what, teaching is one of the most underpaid professions in the world. Yes, but speaking can be one of the best paid professions in the world if you do it right. The reason why I throw the number $100,000 out is because it's doable. It's what, please?
Doable.
Shake somebody next to you, say, this is doable.
Doable.
So the reason why I throw out that number is because it's doable. It's something that you can do. Myself and many of my peers in the industry make $1 million a day and upward. How many people think that that's great? Raise your hand. How many people would like to do that? How many people believe that they can? Of course you can. You can do everything I do, everything they do, and much, much more. Because you get to stand on our shoulders, you can learn, and you can do much more than we did. And in fact, I hope and pray that you do much more than I ever did. Right? Now, having said that, I said do. Boy, what do you do when you're screwing up like that on stage? Yeah, how do you roll with that? I don't know, we'll figure it out. So,
$1 million in the back of the room.
I did. That wasn't my fault, it just came out. But nonetheless, so you can do everything I've done, and everything they've done, and so much more. Of course you can. And you want to have that source of inspiration. Say, yeah, hey, I can do that, but we want to make it doable and make it realistic. Say realistic. Realistic. This is realistic. So if you found 2 and a bit of a person a month, and you trained them on a regular basis, you can do $100,000 a year. Now the interesting thing about this is that you only have to do it once or twice. Why? You only have to find those people once or twice. Why? Because of word of mouth. You know, in my audiences, where I'll do thousands of people in Europe or in Australia, wherever I'm traveling, you know, we'll have 2,000 people in the room. I'll say, how many people came by referral? 99.9% of the people in the room will raise their hand. What that means to you is that once you've found 2.5 people, those 2.5 should be self-replicating. Self what?
Replicating.
Self-replicating, because they go out and they tell everybody that they know. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. So they should go out and tell everybody they know, so they can do it a couple of times, and I'll share with you. I didn't have 2.5 people in the first real training that I did. When I got trained and I became a professional. How many people want to be professional? Say aye. Aye. Okay. So, you want to be professional. And in the first real training that I did, I partnered up with a dear friend of mine, a guy by the name of Gary Rodriguez. Who knows Gary? Anybody know Gary? Dear friend, right? He and I partnered up, and we had 22 people. This is our first real training. Not the seminars I taught when I was untrained. But after I became trained and really made a business of it, we had 22 people in our first training. What do you think that, and we did a 1-week training where we charged something right around 4 or 5,000. What do you think that 15 of those people asked us? At the end, what did they ask us? 15 people asked us what? What's next? What's next? We said we don't have anything next. They said get something and paid us for it. So we had to create something that was next. Right? Now, I'll share with you, and I don't say this to impress you, but to impress upon you what you can do. Right? So what happened for us was we made $70,000 in about a week and a half. Now, the year before, I made $12,000 all year working for Dale Carnegie. Still time well spent. But then I thought, wow, my whole world can change. And I'm just sharing with you the inside, kind of behind the scenes way of looking at it, because I want you to understand it. I love, within this hour and a half to not only inspire people to think that they can do it, but also know you can. And also know that there's a path, and know that it's easy. Know that it's what, please? Easy. It doesn't mean you don't work your tail off, but it's still easy, because this is so doable. You can hit this easy, right? So we had 15 of them say, hey, what's next? I had one person out of that class, the first class that we taught, I had one person that came to me, and she had a friend of hers was running for U.S. Senate. She said, well, you got to work with Chris Howard. And so he called me up and said, what's your daily rate? I didn't have a daily rate at the time. So he said, what's your daily rate? I said, $2,000. It was either 2 or 4. I don't even remember what I said. And he said, you're done. And he flew me back and forth to Vegas, put me up at the Bellagio, flew me out every weekend to work on his stump speeches. Because he called me and said, I heard that you know of different places to stand on a platform. I stand on a platform in a certain place that represents the past, and a different place that represents the future. He says, I don't want that stodgy Dale Carnegie stuff. He says, I want the cutting edge stuff. And by the way, I don't say that because I think Dale Carnegie's fantastic. But that's the way he put it. He says, I want the cutting edge stuff. The same stuff that you guys will learn with us, right? So I said, sure. And I went back there. That one person paid for my entire education himself several times over. Just one client. That was like 12 years ago. So do you think that I've made more money since then? Yes or no? Yes. And the reason I put, once again, this is the only business frame that I want to put around this. The reason I put this business frame is so that you know that it's easy and it's doable. We're about to, what I'm going to do is now let you see and peek behind the curtains of how to be electrifying on the stage. We'll come back and talk about the business in a second because we teach you the business in presentation and platform. By the way, the investment in presentation and platform, just so you know, is $11,990. Is it 99 or 95? 99. Yeah, that's the investment in presentation and platform skills. So you guys ready? Say yes. Yes. Say bring it on. Bring it on. So what we do at presentation and platform is we systematically overload your conscious mind. So you don't care what you're doing on the stage by day 3. So you get out of your own way. How many people feel like they get in their own way and play small sometimes? Be honest. Now, I used to do that. Yeah, I'd take acting classes and stuff here in LA, and I would get in my own way. I played small. Because it was my stuff getting in the way, or I didn't feel like I was good enough, or didn't have the confidence. But I'll tell you what, once I learned this stuff, it changed my life. It changed my what? Life. How many people want to change their life? Say I. Say that's for me. That's me. So let's take a look at it. The first thing that we have to do in terms of really creating a magnificent presenter, and once again, who wants to be the best? I do. All right, let's check it. I'm talking to the right people. If you want to be the best, what happens is, and it oftentimes happens with the professionals more than it does with people that are just starting out, but they tend to, for what professionals will do, or somebody that's been doing it for a while, let's not even say professionals, people that are kind of seasoned presenters, is they'll tend to develop strengths. Develop what? Strengths. And then they'll rely on those strengths. But if you really want to be the best, what we have to do is we have to pick apart every aspect of your game and polish it up until it becomes your greatest strength. Polish up every weakness until it becomes your greatest strength. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Yes. So when we start the class, what we do is we have to strip you of everything, not clothing. All right? But we have to strip you of all. How many people have ever seen speakers with like distracting mannerisms? Like they walk on the, and that's like, what? Or you see a professional, sorry, gross. You see a professional speaker who like wring their hands and pace back and forth on the stage with no movement. If you're going to move on the stage, I want you to move with volition. I want you to prowl the stage. Does that make sense? Yes. And if you're standing someplace, you're standing there for a reason. All right, so the first thing that we have to do is strip off all distracting mannerisms. And it's kind of like if you're going to paint a house, you take the paint off first so that you can start anew. And so here's the big picture about presentations. Presentations, your job as a presenter is state elicitation. What is it? State elicitation. You guys know what I mean when I say that? Yeah. Your job is to elicit states of mind and emotion in people that cause them, that stir them to move, that stir them to act. How many people want to create behavioral change in their audience in some way, shape, or form? Right? So we want to stir them to movement, stir them to action, get them to change something in their life. Right? Well, if we're going to do that, we have to move their hearts and minds. If you, my favorite speaker of all time was Martin Luther King Jr. Here was a man who could move the hearts and minds of people in such a way that caused them to change their behaviors. Right? And now, if you think about it, you may have heard this analogy before, or this way of looking at things before, this model before, but our emotional states, say states. I can't hear you. Thank you. Our emotional states create certain actions. Right? If somebody's in a state of procrastination, is there a lot of action that gets taken? Yes or no? No. Yes or no? No. I can't hear you. No. Thank you. So there's no action that gets taken in a stuck state like procrastination. But if somebody's in a state of determination or determined conviction, is there action that gets taken in a state like this? Yes or no? Yes. Yes. So if you want to help to create behavioral change in your audience, or even if you're talking like Peter Guber came in and talked about moving one person to act, you have to move their hearts and minds. The same thing that makes a movie work is what makes an audience work. Does that make sense? Yes. So your job is state elicitation, however you get there. However you get there. Whether you get there through the things that you say, the way that you use your body, the way that you use your tonality, any way that you communicate, your job is state elicitation. Because you've got to elicit states of mind and emotion that move people to act, which then changes results. Right? So if you look at what Martin Luther King Jr. did, he took a bunch of people that felt disenfranchised. Right? And he elicited in them states of determination, states of conviction, which caused them to go out and change their actions that didn't change the face of a nation. Doesn't matter what type of a leadership role you're in. Is this interesting at all? Yeah. Is it? Yeah. Should I continue? Yeah. Okay, just checking. I got to check in from time to time. If you're in a leadership role, how many people are leaders in the room? Raise your hand if you're a leader. Now, if you're in a leadership role in any way, shape, or form, and if you're a parent, are you a leader? Yes or no? Yes. Yeah. If you're in business, are you a leader? Yes or no? Yes. Yeah, even in your own life, you're the best leader in your own life. Now, your job is to elicit states of mind and emotion in people that change behaviors and change actions. Right? That's your whole job. So I was having a conversation with a man by the name of Gerhard. I can't even pronounce his last name. He's the publisher of Selling Power magazine. It's probably the biggest sales magazine I think on the planet. And he was going in, he was doing a bunch of presentations for Fortune 500 companies, things like that. And he said, Chris, give me one tip. He says, I'm about to go in, I'm doing this big presentation. It's like the top executives of this thing. He said, I've written my speech out. I've got all the words written out. I said, throw it away. He said, what? I said, yeah, throw it away. You've got this script written out, throw it away. I said, because a presentation, guys, do I sound like I know what I'm going to say next? Some of you are going, yeah, really, no way. But seriously, a presentation is organic. You've got to be connected. Does that make sense? Say connected. You've got to be connected. You've got to be right there. I said, throw the script away. You cannot. I said, unless you practice that so much where you can add life to the script and come out of it. That's a different way to look at it. But my goal is never to say a certain word in a certain place. My goal is to elicit a certain state. A certain what? State. I can't hear you. State. Where are my presenters, by the way?
Right here.
That's weak. Where are my presenters?
Right here.
Champions are not made in tournaments. Champions are made where? I can't hear you. Were they made? Training. Are you going to play it 100% here tonight? Say yes.
Yes.
All right. Shake somebody next to you. Say, we're going to play it 100%. 100%. So your job as a professional presenter from the platform is however you do it is to elicit states of mind and emotion to move people to act in some way, shape, or form. So that they can transform their results or change the world or change business or whatever it is. Right? That's your job. Now, how you get there is through the mastery that we develop. Right? And who's gonna make a commitment for the rest of their life to be the best at what they're doing? Raise your hand. Say aye. Okay, so it starts right here. That means if you ask me what types of courses or trainings and things I plug myself into, presentation skills for sure. You better believe it that I'll be in Joe's course or doing stuff with him. Right? You better believe it that I'm going to be continually looking for different people to plug myself into. I mean, and we're kindred spirits in that sense because you're here. But just because you're here doesn't mean that you've got that commitment for the rest of your life. That's a commitment you've got to make inside of yourself. Right? That commitment to play at 100%, to work a little bit harder than all the rest, to continue to polish up every weakness in your game until it becomes your greatest strength. Right? So, once we start knowing that our job is state elicitation, how many people have ever worried that they might forget what they were going to say on the platform? Who's ever worried about that? I'll tell you what. First off, I'll tell you this. It doesn't matter what you're going to say. What matters is the state, say state, that you elicit. Does that make sense? All right? So it doesn't matter what you say. But here's the deal. You do have to have some way of structuring and thinking and organizing information in your mind. I get that, because you want to know where you're headed. So there's a lot of things that we can do. And I'm going to share with you as much as humanly possible here tonight. But I can't share with you everything. I mean, there's things that I teach to my own internal trainers like, wow, that was one secret that I never taught in our presentation and platform skills. In fact, we just created a presentation and platform skills too, but we only run it in Australia and London. So you can't even do it here in the States. The first level you can. They're both one-week trainings, but there's things like the whole mental side of the game. Because as a presenter, we're going to do an exercise here in a bit, just get you up on your feet again. But as a presenter, does the way you think make a difference in terms of how the audience is going to respond? Yes or no?
Yes.
You better believe it. Right? So every time. How often?
Every time.
I can't hear you. How often?
Every time.
Every time I do a presentation, every time I get up on the stage, I program it in advance. In terms of the results, the responsiveness, what I'm going to get. You know, I use a hybrid blend of neurolinguistics and self-hypnosis. We teach all this stuff in our various trainings. But I program it in advance so that I create my own expectation when I hit the platform. Because in life we don't get what we want. How many people want to do a great job on stage? Yeah? But in life we don't get what we want, we get what we expect. Expectation rules outcome every single time. Because if I come up here on stage and I really want to do a great job, but underneath it all, I'm afraid of being judged, or I'm nervous, am I going to do a great job, yes or no? No, because I'll tell you what, if you want to elicit a state of mind and emotion in your audience, where does it start? Where does it start? With you. So how are you going to pull the audience into a state? Because you're going to be like this orchestra leader that brings them into, all over the place. You create this symphony, this magic in the room. Right? But how are you going to create that if you're not in the state yourself? So you got to get the mental game handled. Right? Unfortunately, I don't have time to go into the whole mental side of it and everything, but I think I would submit to you that it's the most important, say important. Important. The most important aspect of your game. You got to have that handled. Right? Because as a leader, if you want to elicit decisiveness in your audience, but you're in a nervous state, good luck. Are you with me? Yeah. So you got to have that handled. And we teach you how to do that. But I want to take a look at this whole idea of how you structure and organize information in your mind. How many people would love to do presentations with no notes, nothing like that, nothing necessary? Yeah, wouldn't that be great? Right? You just stand up and just speak. I'll share with you something. I didn't prepare this. I didn't prepare it tonight. I hope it doesn't show through. I hope it doesn't show through. No, okay, good. So, you want to be able to structure the information so you get through to the most amount of people in the audience. Right? And so you know that there's only a few things that you have to remember. There's a couple of different strategies that I teach for this. One is just the format, say format.
Format.
The formatting of your information. The other one is when you think of a visual memory. We hear about people with visual memories. That's just a strategy. It's a what place? That can be taught. And this was another one of those secret weapons I had along the path that I feel caused me to excel when a lot of other people weren't excelling, was that I have a strategy that we teach for cementing in a presentation at the unconscious level in pictures rather than in words. Because a picture says how many words? I can't hear you. How many words?
1,000.
1,000 words. Are you guys ready to practice and play a little bit? Say yes.
Yes.
When I say are you ready, say bring it on. Are you ready?
Right now.
Where are my presenters, by the way?
Right here.
That was weak. Where are my presenters?
Right here.
Okay, here's the exercise that we're about to do. And I'm just having fun and throwing as much stuff at you as I can in this time frame. Cool? Yes. All right. This is about how do you structure information. And we have a system for structuring information and thinking about information, so you could stand up here and you could speak for 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever time they gave you, because a presentation is like an accordion, right? You have a beginning, you have an end, and you either make it shorter or you make it longer. So the format system, the what? The format system is a way for you to structure information, just one thing of the many things that we install at Presentation Platform. You can have an experience of it right now. But it's one way that you can structure your information to get through the most amount of people, but also it helps you on your feet. On your what?
Feet.
Feet to make your presentation most coherent. So, the format system, I want you to write down 4 things. Ready? Poise your pens. That's funny, poise your pens. All right, first one is why. Put why, write the word why. Write the word why, like W-H-Y. Second one is what. Third one is how. Fourth one is what if. Why, what, how, what if. Okay, say those with me.
Why, what, how,
what if. Again.
Why, what, how, what if.
Again. Why, what, how, what if. You can take any type of content and structure it in that format system, and it gets the idea across to your audience in a way where they get it. And it doesn't matter what you're teaching. I mean, and I want you to be right now in your mind, as I'm speaking, you're going to begin to think of what's something that you do really, really well. You know, Dale Carnegie said that there were a couple of secrets and keys to really doing effective presentations. He said you have to be enthusiastic. You have to be what?
Enthusiastic.
Enthusiastic about your topic. You have to love your topic. And you also have to know your topic so well that you own it. Say own it.
Own it.
Own it. If I'm going to come up here and speak about brain surgery, well, of course I might feel nervous. I don't know anything about brain surgery. But you want to, it's kind of like in preparation, from my perspective, you want to prepare so that you have 10 times the amount of content that you would ever need to deliver a presentation. Does that make sense? Yeah, so that when people get nervous is when they're stretching to try to do something. Forget about the stretching. You own that content. And that comes to that follows suit with being the best. Being the what? Best. Shake somebody next to you, so you got to be the best.
Be the best. The best.
All right.
Be the best. I am.
So you want to know your content so well that you own it. So right now I want you to be thinking of something that you really own. Something that you do really, really well, right? And I don't know what it is. Maybe you know how to, scramble eggs really, really well. Maybe you're exquisite at gardening or at sailing. Maybe it's I don't know what it is. Throw out a couple of things, a couple ideas.
Public speaking.
Public speaking could be public speaking. There you go. Throw out something else. What are you really good at? Arm wrestling. Somebody said. Writing. I love it. What else? Coaching, carpentry. I don't care what it is. You can put it in this format. So, one of the things that we teach you how to do a presentation, platform skills training, is like we'll take a topic like, you guys are familiar with neurolinguistics or NLP. We still certify people in these. We have trainings. If you want to find out more, ask in the back. I don't have time to talk about all that. But you take a topic like anchoring. Who's heard of the concept of anchoring before? All right, so anchoring is a concept that's taught in neurolinguistics. Now, if I wanted to put anchoring in the why, what, how, what if format and do a quick presentation on it, I could do it an hour, I could do it 15 minutes, I could do it 10 minutes, 5 minutes. If I wanted to put it in that format system so that I got through the most amount of people and in an effective and coherent way, I might say something like this. How many people here would love to be able to take charge of their own emotional state anytime, any place, anywhere? Raise your hand if you'd like that. Right? Who here would love to feel powerful at any time they chose? Now, how about confident? You guys want to feel confident anytime you chose? Right? I got a question for you. How many people are pretty confident that it's a good thing to breathe? Raise your hand if you feel it's pretty confident. Now, what if just as you know that it's a good thing to breathe, you knew that you'd hit every goal that you'd ever desired? Would that be useful, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. So anchoring is a technique that puts you in charge of your emotional state. Anytime, any place, anywhere. Now here's my question to you. What part of the format was that? Why? That was my hook. My what? Hook. That was where you sell the listener on the value of learning. Does that make sense? Yes or no?
Yes.
So you sell the listener on the value of learning through your why. You not let your why up front. Right? How many people here want to be the best presenter they could possibly be? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, is that a why? Yes? All right. So let's go back to our example of anchoring. So what is anchoring? Now I'm in the what section. What is anchoring? Anchoring is a process of stimulus response. It's actually, when Pavlov, you've heard of Pavlov, Ivan Pavlov, every time he'd feed his dogs, he would sound a tuning fork. It was a tuning fork, it wasn't actually a bell. And because the dogs were in an intense, say intense, intense emotional state, the sound of the tuning fork became neurologically linked to that state. So that pretty soon you could just sound the tuning fork and the dogs would what?
Salivate.
They would salivate at that point. So that's the process of stimulus response. Well, what we did was we looked at that and we said, well, how do you turn that back into a process that we can use at any time, any place, anywhere to take charge of our own emotional states? Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, what portion of the format was that? Why? Okay, how do you do anchoring? Well, the way that you do anchoring is you get somebody in an intense emotional state, or yourself in an intense, and the key is the intensity. Because if you look at, on the extreme negative example, on the extreme negative side of anchoring, how many people have heard of a phobic response before? Okay, a phobic response is an intense, irrational fear. It's a negative anchor, right? It's usually an example of one-trial learning where somebody saw, like in the case of a mouse phobia, they saw the mouse, they felt the fear, and then pretty soon the two became neurologically linked. Does that make sense? Yeah. So anytime they see the stimulus, they feel the fear in that case, right? But that's an example of a negative anchor. How long can a negative anchor last with somebody? Forever. Why? Because the conditions were right in that case, right? Because it was because of the intensity of the state. So does somebody need to be in an intense state if they want to anchor something in? Yes or no? Yes. So the intensity of the state is vital, right? So what you do is you get into an intense emotional state. At the same time, you fire a specific stimulus, and that stimulus can be in any representational system. It could be a tonal anchor. It could be a physical anchor where you touch somebody. It could be an anchor that you fire off yourself, like you've heard of resource anchors, where somebody does a resource anchor, they do some unique movement that links to that state that puts them back in that emotional state. An anchor isn't magic, it's simply a convenient reminder. Say convenient reminder. Convenient reminder. A convenient reminder to go into certain emotional states. By the way, is anchoring useful for presentations as well, yes or no? Yes. Okay, so let's say you get in an intense emotional state. What you do is you apply a specific stimulus, could be a touch. When you're in that state, then what you do is you break the state, then you fire the stimulus again, and you find that you can go back into that state. That's how you do the process of anchoring. What part of the format system was that? How. Now, what if you had the ability to go into any emotional state, anytime, any place you chose? Would that make you a better presenter, yes or no? Yes. Would that give you control of the stage or the platform, yes or no? Yes. Would that give you a better ability to elicit emotional states in others, yes or no? Yes. Yes, you better believe it. What else could you do if you had this ability to control your emotional state? Anything is the correct answer. Now, by the way, that's why I think that's one of the most important skills that you can learn with, is we teach a lot of different skills. But now, what portion of the format system was that? What if? Questions and answers can also happen in the what if section. Who has a question on anchoring? Raise your hand if you got a question on anchoring. Somebody please help me, yes.
You don't need to pay for it. No. You go? Are you part of the inner circle?
What is the what part of the, well, not on the presentation of anchoring. Who has it, just role play here for a second. Who has a question on anchoring? Yes?
How long does it last?
How long does it last? It can last how long? Forever, providing the conditions are right. That is, that the stimulus is unique enough so that it doesn't become diluted. And I had somebody say one time, I want to create a resource anchor where every time I shake somebody's hand, I go into a powerful, confident state. The problem is we shake a lot of hands and those anchors can become diluted over time. Does that make sense? Yes. So as long as the stimulus is unique, say unique. Unique. And as long as the emotional state is intense, say intense. Yes. Then that anchor can last forever. Okay, by the way, that was just a quick 5-minute presentation on anchoring. On what? Anchoring. And it was taught in the format system. How many people feel like they have a little bit better understanding of anchoring now? Unless you were a master of it before, right? So, I want you to prepare right now. You're going to prepare a quick presentation. You're going to jot down some notes. Why, what, how, and what if about something that you own. A topic that you own that you can communicate to somebody, your ownership, and then you can teach them. This is teaching. It's what place? Teaching. I say the word teaching. Teaching. So write down just a couple of little opening phrases for the why. You don't have to write out a paragraph. Just a couple of little points about why, a couple of little points about the what, how, and what if about some topic that you own. You've got 3 minutes to work on this. Ready to go. 3 minutes. All you're doing is jotting down a few ideas about the why, the what, the how, and the what if. Why? Somebody will learn this. You know, how would you like to make a lot of money? How would you like to have incredible relationships? Those are all why type questions. Your why is your hook. The what is the content section where you teach. This is what it is. This is what it is that I do. This is what scrambling eggs is.
You're not ready.
I believe, without question, you picked up your pen, words would come
The how is how you do it. This is how you do this. These are the steps. The what if section, you kind of paint the future, or you paint different applications. What if you could do this? What if you could do that? Could also be the question and answer section. Take about 45 more seconds to jot down some ideas. That's all I want you to have is ideas. All right, wherever you are right now, just stop. Just stop wherever you are. People are going, shoot, I didn't know I was going to be jumping in like this. How you guys feel? Good. I can't hear you. How you feel? Great. All right, then please stand with unbridled enthusiasm. Ferociousness. With your notes in hand, go ahead and take your notes. I'm cool with that. When you get your presentation platform, it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to have you up with no notes and stuff. We're just playing here and getting a taste. Getting a what? Taste. All right. You guys enjoying this? Say yes. Yes. All right. Are you really enjoying it without my prompting? Yes. Here's what I want you to do. Find a group of 3. So find 2 other partners. You got 10 seconds. Ready to go. Group of 3. 2 other
1,
partners.
2. Is anyone alone over here?
9, 8, 7.
4. You want to do a 4 sum?
Yeah, let's do
5. If you don't yet have a group of 3, raise your hand high. If you don't yet have a group of 3, raise your hand high. People with your hands in the air, look around you. Finding other people with their hands in the air. All right, if you don't yet have a group of 3, raise your hand high, look around you, find the other people with their hands in the air.
4.
All right. If you, let me get everybody's attention. Is there anybody that does not have a group of 3? Let me see your hand if you do not have a group of 3. Fantastic, it's amazing the numbers work so well. I'm going to ask that you stand for this exercise. All right, are you going to be standing when you're on a platform, yes or no? Yes, so let's do it like we mean it. Champions are not made in tournaments, champions are made where? I can't hear you, where are champions made? Training, one of the 3 of you, raise your hand high in the air. One of the 3 of you, raise your hand high. Point to yourself, say, I'll go first. Okay, here's what you're going to do. Here's what you're going to do. I want you to remain standing. We're going to jam through this because I got a bunch of stuff I want to give you if that's cool with you. All right, I'm only going to give you 3 minutes. How long? 3 minutes. And I just want you to do a short presentation to the other 2 using the format system. Why, what, how, what if.